Ben Furman, welcome back to the show. We tried to do this last year, and I was on holiday in Åland, in your country, and I did it from a sauna. And we had a great talk, but unfortunately the audio was not that good, so we had to take it out. But good to have you back, Ben.
Good to be back, and I hope we have a better sound quality this time.
Yes, exactly. It was a little bit of a shame, but so yeah, we have a lot of things to talk about. Do you know how many books you have written?
Maybe 25, something like that. But it's been so many years. Huh? Yeah. So if you live long enough, you can write many books.
I looked on your website, and in Finnish, I found 28 books.
Oh,
in Finnish, yeah. But and then you have in many other languages as well. So when I was
some
preparing,
of them have been.
When I was preparing for this, I had so many things I wanted to discuss with you. So we need a couple of hours now.
Cool.
But let's first get back to your background. So you started to, you're a doctor, a general practitioner. Is that something that you wanted, or was it? What is the story behind Ben Furman, the doctor?
Yeah, I have many stories about my career choice, but one story that I have been telling sometimes people is this thing that my father always wanted me to be a doctor, and he was always saying, "Oh, my son here." You know, I was 5 years old probably when he started to, hypnotize me to become a doctor. So I actually liked the idea, and I was for many years I was determined to become a doctor. And then when I was in high school, like a teenager, I started to take photographs. I had a real, system camera with different lenses, and I made myself the pictures in liquids, and so I was really a photographer. I even did some LP covers. Really, I did some LP covers. They still exist. And then I said to my daddy that I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a photographer. And so he didn't like that idea at all. And he was like, no, don't speak like that. No, it's not a good idea. And we started to, argue whether I should be a doctor. And I'm like, you don't decide for me. I can decide for myself. At that age, you don't want your parents to control you. And then I think my mother came one day when we were fighting about this with my father, and said, "But Ben, you can be a Röntgen doctor, X-ray doctor. Then you can combine the both of them." Huh? So I learned something from my mother. Try to combine the different things that you are interested in. Well, I didn't. I studied to become a normal, doctor, general practitioner, you would say in the beginning, and then a couple of years later, I specialized in psychiatry. So I'm a psychiatrist. Some people think I'm a child psychiatrist because I have been working so much in the field of family therapy and children and parents and so on. So, but I'm actually adult psychiatrist who has family therapy orientation.
Okay. I want to go back to 1977. You went to the Esalen Institute, right? And for the listeners that are into personal development, Esalen Institute is a legendary place, and I just wrote down a couple of names that have been teaching there, and people like Gregory Bateson, Deepak Chopra, Feldenkrais, Buckminster Fuller, Abraham Maslow, Terence McKenna, Fritz Perls, Virgin Satir, Alan Watts, Andrew Weil. That's just some of the names that have been teaching at this legendary institute. And for those of you that are into NLP, you recognize some of the names. And for those of you that like Buddhist philosophy, you maybe seen Alan Watts videos on YouTube. So Esalen Institute is a legendary place. And you had the opportunity to be there. Was it the summer of 77 or?
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember the year, but what happened is that there was an opportunity to go there and stay for 1 month. I think it was quite a big thing for me to travel to America and to be 1 month in that Esalen Institute. It was a program where you have to work every day. You have to work to pay for your stay in the institute. But it was quite an experience to be exposed to so many different approaches. Gestalt therapy was big at the time, and yoga and vegetarian food. And this was in the beginning of that time of self-development groups, bioenergetics, you would breathe and you would try to get emotions out. And there was a lot of those kinds of therapies at that time. And I was looking, what is this? What is that? And I was very curious, but somehow I didn't become interested in these body-oriented therapies where you are like trying to get feelings from your body and express and shout and scream. And I was not interested in this kind of screaming therapy. And I spent some time in the library of the Esalen Institute. I found some interesting books. They were a little bit different than the encounter groups that you had in the Esalen Institute. And I found a book about brief therapy, about Milton Erickson, about hypnosis, Václavic. And somehow, even if I was starting that way, I became much more interested in these, more exciting things.
Okay. I can imagine that those things were pretty new coming from Finland at that time, and getting exposed to all these crazy ideas. Because now, I mean, yoga and all this is mainstream now, but at that time it was very new.
Exactly. It was in the beginning when in America already these ideas were spreading after the hippie movement. Even LSD had something to do with that. And then now the world is so different. For example, meditation was popular at that time in the Esalen Institute, in those people who are interested in self-development. But then I saw this meditation thing, this is a good idea. And I thought, nobody will ever buy this idea. It's good if people calm themselves down and they learn to meditate and learn the Buddhist ideas of controlling your mind and letting thoughts, go rather than being stuck with some, neurotic or unuseful thoughts. And I loved the idea, and I was doing meditation myself. But then I thought this will never, become popular. It's a ridiculous idea to start to, make meditation popular. But I was wrong. It has become very popular now. I can't believe it. I was so wrong. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't become interested more in yoga and meditation. I looked at more, psychological methods.
It has taken some time, but I think it's getting mainstream now with meditation, and mindfulness is, this Buddhist practice from the beginning, and it's getting all over the world. And so, it's interesting. Okay, so you graduated as a general practitioner doctor, and you worked a few years as a doctor, right? And then you
I did.
Went back to study psychology. What was the journey back? Like, you were already out making money, and then going back to study again? What
Actually,
made you do that?
It doesn't work that way in medicine. You become a medical doctor, like an MD, they would say in America, and then everybody usually specializes to something. Somebody becomes an eye doctor, and somebody becomes a nose doctor, somebody ear doctor, so somebody becomes a mind doctor, and that's called psychiatrist. So I was actually just specializing in psychiatry. You are working as a normal doctor all the time, but I returned. I was working in Lapland as a GP, and then I came back to Helsinki, and I started to specialize in psychiatry. So I was working with mental health problems.
And at that time it was psychoanalysis?
Those times. It was a little bit crazy because I was, first I thought I would become a psychoanalyst too. Everybody should become a psychoanalyst. Everybody should lie on the sofa and think about their dreams and analyze their background, childhood, relationship to mother, traumatic life events. So there was a lot of this kind of a belief that in order to help people who have any kind of psychological problem, even if you don't have, you should analyze yourself. And that was in Swedish you would say dagens melodi, the melody of that time. And I was starting that way. I went to my own psychoanalysis, 3 times a week. You have to sit there. No, you have to lie down, really. And I did that. And then after about 1 year or maybe 3 years, I was not anymore so interested in psychoanalysis. I thought it was a lot of crap. I don't know if you are supposed to say that, but there was so much crap. I mean, so idiotic ideas that people believed in. And so I became more interested in family therapy, brief therapy, a little bit learn about hypnosis, and totally different way of looking at human being. Not so much in the past, what happened to you and how do we understand why you have these problems. I was much more interested in how can you change? How can you learn something new? How can you, control your own mind or your own family or your own environment? And how can you change it for the better rather than how analyze and understand why it became that way? So there's a big difference between these two type of approaches, and I became more this way. Many others became more that way.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know you have this the website. This brief therapy is one of your websites. So brief therapy. How brief is the therapy compared to psychoanalysis?
Yeah, you can imagine if psychoanalysis can take many years and then you go 3 times, maybe 4 times a week. That's in the originally they went 4 times a week. So you cannot speak on the same day, because if you go to brief therapy, the kind of brief therapy that I teach, it's called solution-focused brief therapy. In this kind of therapy, you may only go once, and it's like you cannot speak in the same day, because you go once, you go twice, you go 10 times. The client decides. So I would ask you, so do you want to come again? And every time you would have to say, yeah, can I come one more time? Of course, you decide. You decide how many times you go. I don't decide. So in therapy, traditionally, we said, now you have to start coming, and you have to come 1 year, every week. And even in brief therapy, there are many forms of brief therapy where they say to the client, you have to come 20 times, or you have to come 10 times. And now the idea has totally changed. It's like you decide. Maybe sometimes people come only 1 time and they're quite happy with the result, and maybe they say, oh, I could come again, but not right now. I can come a little bit later, maybe after half a year. So it's totally flexible, and it is based by what the client wants. Quite different from any traditional therapy, where the expert will tell you how many times you have to go.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's up to how the person is feeling instead of the expert can bill many hours because he's the expert. Exactly, all about the money. So kid skill is something that you have developed, and you have a lot of different programs when it comes to kids. So can you share a little bit about the kid skills? You have an application and many different things.
Yeah, if people have not heard about it, it is because I have been interested in brief therapy so very quickly. People start to ask, can you use these ideas with children too? And I have been, working with families, and I've been working with kindergarten, and I've been working with schools. So automatically the big question, like, how can we use these useful ideas with children? And many years ago, I was working with special needs children. These are children who have some problems, like more problems and they have been moved to a smaller group. So you have a smaller group of children they picked from different kindergarten because they have so many problems. And I was working as a supervisor for the staff. And we decided, let's develop something that can help not only this special group, but also other groups maybe in the world. Oh, we had big ideas. And we developed a simple method. Well, it's not so simple, it has 15 steps, but it has a very simple ground idea. The main idea is that we don't talk about problems with children, not even with their parents. No talk about problems, only talk about skills that the children need to learn. What skill does this child need to learn so that he will be happy and successful? And this became the key in this method called Kid Skills. So we started to speak differently. Yes, speak differently. So the same problems, but totally different way of speaking. And this new way of speaking was based on the idea, how can we help the child to learn a certain skill? And this method has now spread all around the world. So I've been teaching it, I don't know how many countries in the world. Now I have to teach on Zoom, but I mean, I have been previously traveling around the world and just teaching these 15 steps. And people are all fascinated about it. They try it with their own children, and then they try to use it in the school or in the kindergarten, or if they're grandparents, they use with their grandchildren. So it's just a simple, systematic, based on brief therapy ideas, but made so simple that everybody can use it with their own children.
So when I heard you speak at the Congress of Excellence last year, you were sharing some story from a Chinese example. You remember, or can you share an example of how you would work with kid skills with this child? Do you remember that particular example? Or?
Yeah, I have many examples, and we have a system in China. Normally, if you want to be certified as a kid skills coach, it's possible to be get a certification and you put it on your wall. You are a certified kid skills coach. So when to become a certified kid skills coach, you have to write a report, a case study, where you show that I have used this with my own child, or with a child in the school, or with some child. Or even you can use it with the whole family. So then in China, they have a rule that it's not enough to write the report. You have to film. You have to make a video with your mobile phone. You have to make a video of the child when the child is, you have to interview the child. So then I have a lot of videos in Chinese. Not all of them are translated to English, but I mean, they're quite exciting videos where the child is being interviewed, and then the question is like, so what problem did you have? So then the child will have to say what problem. One child said, I was fighting with my sister all the time. Ooh, so what skill did you have to learn? I had to learn to ignore my sister when my little sister teases me. Oh, so how did you learn that skill? And so I have many cases like that. I even have some videos of my own. One is about a little boy that I talked to, and I thought it was so sweet. So I've been showing it in different workshops. He said, I talked about the boy with the mother, and we talked good things, only good things about the boy. The boy was so happy to be there. So the mother said all kinds of wonderful things about him. He whispered something into his mother's ear. And I asked, what did he say? He was a little bit shy. So the mother said, he said, Mommy, can we stay here all day? He enjoyed being with us. So there you see, Kid Skills is focusing on the positive things first, so that people want to work with us. And then I said, is there any skill that mother would want the boy to learn? Because we don't talk about problems. I remember, so I cannot ask if the boy has some problem. I have to ask, is there some skill that the boy needs to learn in order for mother to be happy or the boy to be happy? And the boy not the mother, but the boy, said, "I bite my nail." 8 years old. And so I said, "Oh, so would you like to learn to grow your nails, to have nice nails?" Because I didn't want to talk about a bad habit. I wanted to talk about the skill to learn and to grow your nails, or to let your, I don't know, to have beautiful nails, or to take care of your nails. That is already a skill to learn. So I was starting to change from biting your nails to taking care of your nails. So I spoke about growing nails. And he liked that. So we had a discussion about how to grow your nails. This is a different way of talking. The same problem, but we are talking differently. And then he was agreed, and I said, but you have 10 nails. It's very difficult to make all the 10 nails grow at the same time. How about you choose one finger? You can choose whichever one you want, you know. And he said, and then you grow only that nail, and you can bite the others, but one nail is like perfecto. And then he chose the thumb. And we had a wonderful discussion about how to make the thumbnail grow and how to celebrate. Important part of kids' skills, how to celebrate when you have succeeded. Ooh. And we made a plan that he will cut with the clipper the nail when he has succeeded. And I said, can you send me a video when you cut it? And I have that video. A couple of weeks later, I was back in Finland. I was not in China anymore. And I got a little video. My mother had been filming with her phone, and he was very proud. On the video, he's like cutting the nail and showing, look, oh, I succeeded. So this is a little story to get the idea of kids' skills. It's not a complicated idea. Everybody can understand it. Make small steps and make sure the child feels like proud. I have succeeded. Not yet, you haven't solved the problem yet, but you have done good progress. Well done, good job. And the child is motivated to, grow next time, to grow 2 fingers. And this idea originally comes from Milton Erickson.
Okay.
So many good ideas these days. If you look at psychological ideas and you find this is an interesting idea, then if you start reading Milton Erickson's works, probably you will find it there. He was very creative therapist who used all kinds of techniques that today other people find these techniques, they give it fantastic names, and they take a lot of credit for themselves. Ooh, I'm a big person here, I made this new invention. And you say, like, go back, look in the Bible, and you will see. Milton Erickson has certainly done something like that before you.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. So they can learn more about kids skills on, is it kidskills.com, or what is the website?
.org.
.org. Yeah, kidskills.org. So
and it's with 2 S, so kids skills.
Okay.
It's not it's not it's not kills. It's not about kids killing each other. It's about
kids skills.
Kids skills.
Okay, excellent.
Children's skills, so to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So you worked with family therapy and you worked a lot with children, but then you also start getting the calls from companies, from business.
Yeah.
How come? How come family therapy become something important for a CEO or for a business?
I should have different hats, for this Zoom, so I could put a different hat on, I have a few different roles, and the explanation is very simple.
Like you done with your websites. You have many different websites for your different,
right. Our company name is Helsinki Brief Therapy Institute. But the word therapy in the name of the company is not really right when we work with businesses and organizations and teams and leadership and so on. But so far we have not changed the name. of the company, and even companies are okay with, you know. But the background is simple. There is a psychology, a school of psychology. Like coaching is another example. Coaching is a kind of a school of psychology, and it is quite, you know, it's applicable. You can apply it in different ways, not only in sports. Coaching was originally only in sports. Now you have coaching in schools. Now you have coaching in business coaching, you have management coaching, you have family coaching, you have couple coaching, you have children coaching. Coaching has become a huge industry where you can apply more or less the same principles with different target groups. And the same is true, of course, for solution-focused psychology, that it can be used with children, it can be used in organizations. So many years ago, me and my colleagues, we started to get invitations to do something with organizations or do some management training or visit some management training course that's already built course, and you are like a visitor, you are telling them about solution-focused psychology. So yes, I have been working a lot with developing ideas of how to make teams work better, how to have better management, how to, particularly my favorite thing has always been how to collaborate better, because people start to argue and fight, and it's not good for any kind of teams, and it's so common. So we want to build how do you say, good atmosphere, a good feeling, a good energy, a good collaboration, a good team spirit. This kind of team spirit has been one of my specialities, how to build that spirit into our team, into our organization, by talking differently.
So I guess you've seen this research by Gallup that's been all over the world. My mother worked with happiness at work in the 80s and the 90s, so they did projects on improving happiness at work. So I kind of grew up with this. And then I read this Gallup report saying that engagement is extremely low all over the world. So people go to work and they don't even like what they're doing. They don't want to go to work. What is the reason for this, do you think?
Well, I made a list of factors. It's got a little bit boring, you know, start to give a lecture about all these factors, but there are some factors that maybe should be, you know, I don't know, lifted and highlighted. This is one of the things. And one of my favorite factors that if I have, you know, restricted time and I cannot speak all the, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 factors. So then I usually speak about one, and that is the joy of success. Is a factor of work happiness, of work contentment, work enjoyment, engagement. You know, do you like your work? Yeah, I love my work. Do you enjoy your work? Yeah, I enjoy very much. Yeah. Do you like to go to work? Yeah, always want to go to work. So if you want people to feel like that about their work, so you have to do something about it and collaborate. If people collaborate well, automatically you like to go to a workplace where it's fun to work with the other. And one of the keys that I highlight is the joy of success. It means that you do something and then somebody, you know, notices and you say, "Ooh, well done, good job, hey, ooh." It's like we did it, we succeeded. So kind of a happiness from success. And that success happiness is so important for enjoying your work that we really have to start to think, how can we make sure that people have this feeling? Otherwise, everybody will start to feel, oh, I hate my work, I get headache, I don't want, again. So you really have to think about how to make sure that people experience that they are doing a good job. And my point has always been that it's not enough to do it here inside your head, it doesn't help if you do mindfulness meditation. You need other people, you need to communicate, and you need to share. Sharing successes has been one of my, one of the things that I'm teaching. It's not rocket science. It has nothing to do with rocket science. It has to do with normal, everyday psychology that we all, already know. We know that this is important.
Yeah, but it's interesting you're saying that it's not rocket science, but yet I think in most workplaces around the world, it's still the opposite. It's still focused on the problems. So people are looking for problems instead of looking for the solutions. So even I asked, what are the problems? And you immediately went to success, to the opposite, so the solution focus. So I think what you're doing, you need more people need to listen to Ben Furman and focus on the successes instead of the problems.
Yes, and that's one of the second things when I teach, and I have a possibility to teach these things. So successes is one thing, to focus more on successes, to see them, to talk about them, to share them. And another one is the one that you just mentioned, Oscar. People are perhaps quite often too problem focused. Problem focused means that they want to know all the problems, they want to analyze the problems, they want to talk about the problems, they want to discuss the problems. So there is a saying in English, maybe you can translate it to many languages, but it is, too much analysis can cause paralysis. If you analyze things like, why am I not happy, or why is my marriage not, giving me satisfaction? Why do I, don't like my work? Why do I, The more you do why, the more unhappy you become. So solution focused means that, yes, I understand that you are not happy with your work. Okay, let's not analyze it further. Let's do a little bit different question. And the question is, what do you need to change? What needs to happen so that you will enjoy your work a little bit more? And the question is not why we have a problem. The question is, what do we need so we don't have the problem? So that's the key of solution-focused thinking. And it's a little bit like a different mindset. You are still talking about the same problems, but now you are talking a little bit in a different way.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I think you said 15 steps with the kids that you go. Is it the same when you work with CEOs? The same model as you work with the kids, but you don't refer to them as kids?
More or less, when I teach, it's always the same ideas. So, yes, but of course, depending on the target group, we kind of package things differently. So some people have jokingly said that, Ben, you are a packager. You package ideas. Yes, that's what I do. I take a simple idea and I package it so that we can market it, so that we can sell it, so that we can spread it. So Kids is a typical packaging where you take very simple ideas, put them together, give it a name, and then you say, hey, here's a method, would you try this? And then you teach it, and then people try it, and only if it works, they will buy it. So same is true for organizations. When we go to organizations and we teach, so we teach through exercises. We cannot give PowerPoint presentations. It doesn't change anything. People like to watch PowerPoint presentation. They are nodding. Yeah. Nothing happens. So this is a different way of teaching. Here you speak little, ask people to do exercises, and then they do their exercise, and then you ask them, so what did you learn? What did you think? And this was good. Now I realized. Now I noticed. So there's a different way of teaching things. Of course, when we talk about children, we have a little bit different way, but with managers and with companies, we use exercises.
Yeah. Some of the listeners are into the work as coaches and this, so that's a big lesson in, I know you have the Brief Therapy as your company name, but then, for example, you have the reteaming coaching packaged for, so that's like a marketing lesson for the listeners. That
It is.
Package it into different market segments, and
Exactly.
the reteaming coaching and the cooperating training, right?
Yeah, we have packaged things a little bit differently. If people ask me to give a lecture, so I speak a little bit differently than if they say, can you do as a coach? Sometimes we do actually a coaching program where we meet several times, and then we can actually make some, goals, and we can decide, let's do this. So I've developed, and one of the popular packages is the one you mentioned. We call it reteaming. It's 12 steps. Steps again. These are steps for adults. It's like what is the first step is like, what is your dream? How would you like things to be in the future for your life? So how would you like this team to be in the future? How would you like this company to be in the future? So always start with a vision, and how to get people to create visions, because people always become very excited when they dream about a better future, much more excited than if they talk about their problems. So just 12 steps how to make your dreams come true. And there's nothing new in reteaming. It's just an application of solution-focused psychology.
Yeah. So as we're recording this, we can use this. I hope people will listen to this in many years to come. But as we're recording this, it's the Corona crisis around the world. People are in lockdown. And I was thinking maybe we can use this as to test some example of solution-focused. So, for example, if you're a business leader and you have a team and everyone is stressed and worried about the current situation, the finances, and so because now when you think about the future, it's very difficult because there's so much uncertainty. So it's not like a clear path. So it's like, how do you want the future to be? It's very difficult because we don't know how the life will look like. I have a lot of friends in the hospitality industry, for example, that work with hotels and tourists. So how can you, as a leader for a team that are a little bit stressed and worried, use the solution-focused approach to make them a little bit more motivated?
Yeah. Good question. Good question. Since we are now working much with Zoom and we are more online, everything is online. So I think we could benefit from learning to become better at creating good meetings and work satisfaction, work enjoyment, work engagement online. It's not so easy, we are not together, we cannot have a champagne. It's difficult.
No high five.
No high five. We have to create a new way of doing high fives. I've noticed that even in this application Zoom that we are now using, they have added, just, I don't know, quite recently, they added clapping. So you have a sign. We have to learn to use these signs. So you can do this, and you can even do that. But there's also clapping, so you can actually show that, and of course we have to learn to use them in order to signal. But we also have the screen, so we could become a little bit better in expressing our thoughts and ideas, and we could recreate some feelings of presence, even if we are not physically present. So we need to learn to find simple tricks that recreate this kind of community. And of course we can, have our own champagnes and everybody drinking from their own bottle and saying hi. And I guess people are already doing those kinds of things. So obviously we have to learn also new ways of thinking. And so many of our colleagues, Oscar, you are doing coaching, and you are teaching people who do coaching. So many people who are doing coaching, they say they have had good experiences of doing coaching online. Actually, some people say that that it can be even better in some ways. So I have been doing a lot of trainings online, and there are benefits. There are benefits. For example, just a small little thing, but if I speak for a little while and I explain something, then I can push the breakout rooms button. This means that the people, even if there are many, they will be automatically divided into smaller groups. So there is no like, I want to be with him, I want to be that, I don't want to be with that. They are automatically divided into groups, and then they are 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes in these little groups doing an exercise, or sometimes just talking about what we have been talking about. And those groups are very effective, particularly because they are automatically assigned. So you have to be with new people, so you learn to get to know people that you wouldn't maybe speak. Otherwise, you wouldn't even speak with them. So there are benefits. Maybe we should, we should be concentrating, taking all the benefits out of this. So then when the crisis is over, we have learned a lot that we can use afterwards too.
Yeah. So solution focused again, focusing on what works.
On what works and what we can benefit.
Yeah. Another thing that I was curious about is for those that have kids, it can be challenging. Maybe smaller kids. How do you explain this? Without putting fear into the kids. So is there any way you can use solution focus with your kids when you talk about Corona and these kind of things?
My kids are big, and and I have Zoom telephone contact with them, so I'm not a good expert on how to speak with children. But I think if you think about it, so it's been like that all over the world always. I mean, there's always some dangers. There's war, there is illness, there is poverty. How do you explain to your child that we don't have food for tomorrow? How do you explain to your child that your grandmother is dying? How do you explain to your child that the tanks from neighboring country are in the street? I mean, parents have had to explain to their kids all the time all kinds of terrible things. So just there is a rule about how to speak with children, and maybe everybody knows that, but it's like usually don't over-explain. So don't go and explain to children what they are not yet ready to take. And everybody knows that rule. Let them ask questions. But when they ask questions, be prepared to answer. But then, like about, where do children come from? Parents are always a little bit like, I don't know how to explain this to my child. Then we need to hear from other parents. How did you explain? This also forces us to talk more to other parents. How do you explain to your child that they don't go to school? How do you explain this and that? And I think there's also a lot of questions about how to have a good life in the family when the children are always there. I don't know, because I don't have now children here, so I cannot tell any good ideas about how to kick them out. Don't. Daddy is on Zoom. Get out of here! Why did you let the children come into my room? I told you, take care of the children. You can have new arguments, Zoom arguments. I can imagine that houses are full of Zoom arguments. Zoom arguments. So there are many little problems that we have to solve, and there's nothing. The only solution is that people start to talk and they share their experiences and they tell their tricks to each other.
One of the things that I like with what you have done is that you have a lot of technical, like there's a lot of websites, there's a lot of apps and a lot of technical tools, because I like to use technology in a positive way, because it can be used in a negative way or it can be used in a positive way. So you have a lot of apps. You have the self app, you have the kid skills, criticism, simulators. But can you explain a little bit about these apps and how they can help people?
Ah, so now you want us to talk for another hour, huh?
No, let's maybe just share what they can. Brief kid skill app. It's free to
Yeah,
download. Or?
yeah, I have a free app. I originally thought it would be something that people would have to pay a little bit, but I don't know if I can show it here. But is it possible? But it is an app that is actually called Kid Skills, and you click here, and it has even my picture when it starts. And then it's an app where you can. It's in many languages. How many languages do I have now? 10 languages already. So it's Spanish, Finnish, English, Russian, Danish, Arabic, and Chinese. So it's like a cookbook of how to handle children. So kids skills, I think, is so simple and useful method that I have actually written a lot of text. This is quite a text-based app, so there is not so much videos or anything. But you can click problems. You click problems, and then you see a lot of different types of problems. You know, like school problems, biting nails problems, bad habits, fears, different kind of fears, aggression, hitting other children, not wanting to go to school, bullying, a long list of typical children's problems. So whether you are a parent or you are a teacher in the school or a grandparent, you can click here to find a little chapter on that type of problem. And then you can find some suggestions of what skill the child needs to learn. So there are some stories in the app. You can read those stories to understand the idea, and then suggestions of what skills children can learn. So it's a very useful tool that some therapists are giving to the parents. They say, read this, check here, you will find some good ideas of how you can help your child.
Excellent. So some of the things that you shared about kid skills, they can learn through the app, which is great.
Free of charge. Free
Amazing.
of charge.
Yeah. You also had some new trainings online. Is that something you've been working on now lately in the Corona lockdown?
Yeah, of course. I'm wondering how to use my time. I have a little bit extra time, so then I have done some training programs now. I did one for free. There is a platform for training program. There are many, but I found one that I kind of like. It's called Thinkific. 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 And you can create a course with, first lesson, second lesson, chapters, and so on. And then you can make them free, or you can make it that you have to pay something. So I have created now 2 courses in English. One was an audio course where you listen to me speaking. I'm speaking about children and parenting, like ideas for parents about how to be an even better parent with your children. And then I have another one. There's a little price. It costs 12 euros, but it's an introduction to solution-focused thinking.
Excellent. We'll put the link below.
Nice, thank you.
And then also, I said 28 books, but yeah, we who's counting? But you have a book called 7 Life Skills, right? On Amazon.
I have written one, and it's actually out in Swedish language too. So I like the idea, because imagine that we are teaching solution-focused psychology, and we notice over the years the people who have been learning this solution-focused thing, similar with, I think, hypnosis and many other things, or mindfulness, that when you learn this kind of thing, you become a little bit happier. I'm not saying that you become super like a Buddha or something, but you are a little bit more relaxed about life. And a lot of people say that after I learned solution focus, it has influenced my life. I am a little bit more relaxed. I have a better relationship with my husband, with my wife. I'm not so stressed anymore. I'm not so burned out anymore. So there are positive effects of learning these kinds of things. So I tried to analyze what is it that makes people more happy because they learn solution-focused psychology. And I think you are, Oscar, you are familiar with this idea because you know about Erik Unestal and his idea. It's the same there, exactly the same effect that if the more you learn about that kind of psychology, mental training type of psychology, it has a positive effect on people. So I was trying to analyze what it is.
Yeah, okay. That they can find that book on Amazon.com. Just search for your name, Ben Furman. I believe it comes up. So that's more strategies from Ben Furman. I had one more question, but I wanted to just. How did you meet Unestal the first time, Professor Unestal? He came to Finland, or do you remember?
Yeah, I think I went many years ago in the early stages of my career. I went to a conference in America, a Milton Erickson conference. And there, he was there. And so, you know, we were from Scandinavia, there are not so many people from there. We are automatically connected somehow. And then I have met him in the European hypnosis conferences. And so it's conference connections.
Okay.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
So we get to know each other. Yeah.
No, I'm very happy that you know each other because when I saw you talk and at the Congress of Excellence, I really liked what you were doing, and I'm since I grew up with happiness at work, this is something that I want to work with as well to increase engagement in companies, because I don't like this that every Monday people go to work and they're not passionate what they're doing. I think this is wrong, and this is something we should change.
And same with families.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Same with families.
Yeah.
We want people to be happy in their families. Yeah.
Yeah. So solution-focused question. You've done a lot of things in your life. What are some things that you're proud of?
Yeah, difficult question. Off the top of my head, if I have to just, get something out of my head, I kind of like these that I've done myself, the self-helper apps. I learned a little bit coding, to code with PHP, this coding program. And I'm not good at it. I couldn't teach anybody coding, but I can do a little bit. So I'm kind of proud that I learned how to code, and I could code some very simple programs, and these are called self-helper programs. I have them on the internet. I have 8 different programs. They are very simple programs. You get questions from the computer, and then you have to type the answer, and then you get the next question and you type the answer, and in the end you can read the questions and your answers. So it's not a complicated program, but that's one thing that I'm a little bit proud of, because I learned to do coding.
That's great. So you put the link to those apps as well below here, and I think you're one of the few psychologists that also knows how to code. I don't think that's so common. So that's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for taking the time again. It was really interesting. Maybe we can do this again, because you have so much knowledge and there's so many things that I could talk for hours with you, because you've been doing this for a long time, and it's very interesting, all the work that you've done around the world. You've been, how many countries have you been speaking in?
Yeah, I did. I actually counted. I did count. I put all the countries on my website, where there is a little story about me, but I don't remember the number. But I've never been in South America. So I've never taught in any of the South American countries. And for a long time, I've also not taught in Italy. But last week I taught in Italy by Zoom. So now I have been in Italy too.
Okay, excellent. So if we have any listener in South America, you can invite Ben Furman either to talk about the kid skills or the company stuff with building good teams. So thank you so much. Anything else before we?
No, I'm good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.